Okay. Let me share my screen. Today's session, we're going to be able to plan and develop an information system. So from our learning outcomes, in order for us to deliver information system project, we need to look into project plan, where we look into system development, life cycles, and methodologies. Then we move into feasibility planning, where we look into feasibility study and feasibility report. And conclusively, we'll have requirements elicitation, where we'll have requirements capture, requirements analysis, and requirements specification, and requirements report. So as you all know, which we've been covering in our previous units, we spoke about project management and how it has to be delivered. What we can see from here is that the definition says that in order to achieve a goal and planning results within a defined schedule and budget, a manager uses a project. So a project has to be differentiated from ongoing operations, where project has a set date and time to complete, while operations are ongoing and they don't have a structured time frame. So as we already seen before, there are various types of methodology that are used to deliver a project. So a traditional one is the waterfall, as we already know. Simply called waterfall due to the fact of how the implementation has to be done, where is going to be a cascade of sequences. So we'll start from a planning phase, moving on to analysis, design, development, deployment, and maintenance. And all this this model has to fall into place. And then we have spiral, where methodology in the extend waterfall method within prototype. So this method is used instead of using a waterfall model for large project. So it's called like this due to the fact that it has to have a spiral concept. Moving on, we have adaptive project framework, where in this methodology, the project scope are variables.
Sorry, Shalom. Are you changing slides? Because it's
Oh,
still on
yeah.
the first.
1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. Coming back, we have agile software methodology, where agile has been the most used method, which has replaced the traditional ones. And what happens is that with agile, we can now deliver our products in a more automated and faster way, due to the fact that with waterfall, it is rare to reverse and return to previous stages to modify and implement a new service, while with agile constantly delivers a new product. Then We do have also dynamic system methodology model, where it is simply a successor of rapid application development. And it's also classified as a subset of agile softwares. And it also boasts about the training and documents support this methodology. Also, we have extreme programming, where what happens is that lowering the cost of requirements, changing the main objectivity of extreme programming. So let's watch a quick video which will give us an explanation of the difference between agile and extreme programming. One second. Agile. Yes. Where is the video? One second, I need to find that. Now this. One second.
Extreme Programming, also called XP. And to introduce XP, I'm going to start with a quote. The quote says, XP is a lightweight methodology for small to medium-sized teams developing software in the face of vague or rapidly changing requirements. And this is a quote from Ken Beck, the American software engineer that created Extreme Programming. And by the way, Beck was one of the original 17 developers who signed the Agile Manifesto in 2001.
1 second, I need to find that.
Agile software development is all, and don't forget, Agile software development is all about incrementally delivering quality software to businesses. Today, we are reviewing two Agile methodologies, Scrum and Extreme Programming. Both of them build on top of certain principles and provide clear guidelines to product development. So what is the Scrum methodology? Scrum has a simple and circular process with two constant elements of inspection and adaptation. The first is creating and maintaining ruthlessly ordered to-do lists, known as product backlogs. The second element refers to prioritizing items dedicated to different steps in short time periods. A Scrum team consists of a product owner, Scrum Master, and development team. The role of the product owner is to translate the customer's goals back to the team. A Scrum Master is the facilitator for a team clearing obstacles and ensuring good working relationships. The team works on the development and testing of every high-priority item through 7 steps: requirements formulation, UI/UX design, development, full testing, integration, documentation, and final approval. Projects are tangibly built, increment by increment. These tangible increments are then showcased to stakeholders for feedback. The new requirements generated by their feedback are placed in the product backlog and prioritized according to existing tasks. This is called the Scrum cycle. To ensure ongoing communication, there are daily scrums, which is a 15-minute daily internal meeting. Don't you just hate those meetings? Share what you think in the comments. Next, sprint planning meeting is used to plan the work that needs to be performed during the sprint. A sprint review meeting is done at the end of the sprint to assess the achievements during the sprint and what should be done in the next sprint. Scrum can be used on any complex project. It specifically benefits the projects with cross-functional teams without constant interruptions from everyday business activities that require a quick feedback loop that use stakeholders' feedback to prioritize tasks for the next sprint. Now let's move on to extreme programming. Extreme programming, XP, is a lightweight, efficient, flexible way to develop software. It derives its name from taking elements of traditional software engineering practices to extreme levels. XP is based on specific planning approach, on-site customer, and continuous testing. Extreme programming takes traditional principles to extreme levels through a number of practices. The XP practices include simple design, pair programming, constant testing, ongoing integration, refactoring, coding standards, and small releases. Let's clear up some of the terms. Pair programming is the practice of having two people simultaneously working together on all production code. Continuous integration is the practice of integrating the system several times per day every time a task is completed by a developer. Pair. Integration in XP is supported by tests like unit testing and functional testing. Refactoring in XP is the practice of restructuring a program or implementing a feature without changing the behavior of the system. XP projects have three phases, namely the release planning phase, iteration phase, and the release phase. In the release planning phase, the customer writes stories based on requirements. The programmers estimate them, and the customer chooses the order in which stories will be developed. In the iteration phase, the customer writes tests and answers questions, while the developers develop software according to the stories. The iteration phase provides ready-to-go software. Thirdly, in the release phase, the programmers install the software, and the customer approves the result. XP works best for small to mid-sized teams developing software, working in the midst of vague or fast-changing requirements. Would you like to learn more about the product development process? Check out the link in the description box. So, what do XP and Scrum have in common? Both Scrum and Extreme Programming divide the development process into sprints, have a planning meeting before the development starts, and pinpoint user stories during such meetings. They also both imply having a planning meeting before each sprint as well. Their goals are similar. What is the difference between Scrum and XP? The main difference is their primary focus. Scrum is heavily focused on management itself. It deals with the activity done besides coding, as it does not give much technical and engineering emphasis on how work is actually done or how a product is actually built. On the other hand, Extreme Programming concentrates programming and coding and the test-driven approach. Are a bit different too. Scrum sprints last for 2 to 4 weeks, and their length is quite flexible. Under XP, however, there are shorter iterations of 1, sometimes 2 weeks to develop a working system. The aim of an XP sprint is not focused on product release, but on creating a working bug-free system. In turn, Scrum sprints are supposed to result in a working product. XP is more flexible when it comes to changes. Unlike in Scrum, changes can be made by the customer during the sprint itself. When it comes to prioritizing tasks, in Scrum, developers determine the order of their actions themselves. In XP, teams follow strict orders according to priority and requirement. The two frameworks discussed, Scrum and XP, both focus on delivering a high-quality product to the customer as fast as possible. There is no universally best framework suitable for all cases. Each of them has its pros, cons, and use cases. If you don't know how to settle on just one framework, what you can do is combine Scrum and XP. If you don't know from where to start, contact Jelvix, and we will help you implement your idea into life. We provide consulting, software development, and design service to top businesses and enterprises. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button, and don't forget to like this video.
I hope this video was useful, where we covered the difference between between different SLC life cycles. So moving on here. We have many other systems, but I would say that Agile, Scrum, and XP are the most suitable while working in teams. Then when it comes to rapid application development, this methodology will focus on developing products faster with high quality. When it comes to gathering requirements, it uses the workshop method. Prototyping is used for getting clear requirements, and use the software components to accelerate the development timelines. So now when it comes to planning an information system project, where this part of the project management, which will now relate to the use of schedule, such as using Gantt chart. So when it comes to project planning, we have to have some sort of tool that will allow us to track our objectivities and or other online softwares like Trello are very useful or used within organizations. Then when it comes to project plan structure, the project planning will now inherently uncertain, as it must be done before the project, which will be actually started. Therefore, what happens is that the task will now often estimate through the weighted average of optimistics. Okay, when it comes to feasibility studies, we just going to be analyzing and evaluating the proposed project to determine a couple of aspects, such as the technically feasible, feasible within the estimated cost, and also if it will be profitable. So feasibility studies, as we already looked into previous tutorials, is simply going to check how these can be implemented. So as you can see, most of the way is conducted where large sums are at stakes. So feasibility study always come before a project plan to see how to understand what could be the revenue and how doable is the implementation. Then also, once this has been done, we now have to make a report. And the purpose of feasibility report is simply to represent the project parameters and now define the potential solutions to the defined problems. So here we have requirements for elicitation. So the process can be deployed using the following, where we're going to gathering our requirements. Then we're going to look into requirements organization, negotiation and discussion, and conclude with the requirement specification. When it comes to elicitation techniques, the requirement elicitation is the process to find out the requirements for an intent software system by communicating with our client, end users, system users, and other who have a stake in the software system development. Other ways to gather this information are through surveys, where organizations might conduct surveys among the stakeholders by querying, asking about the expectation and requirements for the upcoming system. Other ways could be through questionnaire or task analysis. Also, we do have domain analysis, brainstorming, where information debate is held among various stakeholders, and all the input are recommended for further requirement analysis. Conclusively, we have observation, where a team of experts will visit the client's organization of workplace. They will observe the actual working of the existing installed system, and then they will observe the workflow at client end and how execution problems are dealt. Also, the requirements analysis, which is also called requirements engineering, will be simply the process of determining how the user expectation for a new or modified product will be. Then we do have software requirements specification, where is the description of a software system to be developed, and it will lays out functional and non-functional requirements, and which might include a set of cases that describe user interaction that the software must provide. So this was everything for today's session. Is there any question for me?
No questions.
Okay, thank you very much, guys, for joining, and I'll see you tomorrow.